gave the word about pivot, which has been seen by like hundreds of thousands of people now, because we have YouTube, we've had people share.
Thank you, Shawn. I appreciate you having me.
Okay, we'll see you soon. And for everybody
Bye.
else, we're going to keep going. Bye, Shayna. So we're going to keep going. One of the things I thought was really interesting is, when I gave the word about pivot, which has been seen by like hundreds of thousands of people now, because we have YouTube, we've had people share the written version of it out. We've had, Charisma News sent a version of it out. It's been just all over the place. One of the things that was really interesting is when I gave the word, I included language of some of you are going to find yourself going to new churches or going to, being involved with a new ministry. And I had several pastors reach out to me and say that gave a lot of people license to feel like they can just leave us after years of history or whatever. And I said, well, here's reality. I've been a pastor, and people would come to me, regularly and say, hey, I feel like I'm called to move on. And I live in a city like Los Angeles where people only live here for 4 or 5 years, sometimes. And so I had to learn how to release people and trust God to lead them. And God promised me that if I would send away with blessing the people who felt called to leave, and that there was no hardship or just disjointedness, or it wasn't they were leaving out of a bad spirit, but they just felt to move on, to go to somewhere else. Because we live in a city like Los Angeles that has many, just like your cities, there's many great groups of believers there. If I would release them with a spirit of blessing, he would give me his best of his best. And he always gave me incredible leaders that were worth their weight in gold. And I feel like some of us, if you're a pastor or you're a leader and you're afraid of the shift because so many things are shifting, don't hold on with control, but release people. And those who are supposed to be with you will find their way back, and they'll find their way back with gratitude and with humility. And that's a beautiful thing. And so I want to encourage you, don't be discouraged if somebody feels to move on. If you're a good leader, you'll inherit incredible good leaders. And also, don't be afraid if somebody leaves from somewhere to come to you, because take their equity. It's like a house, like whatever equity they had in that house and their old house, their old church. They were doing women's ministry. They were doing children's ministry. They were on the worship team. Bring them in. Don't make them wait through a 3-year process. Bring them in and allow them to get to know them, of course, do something to do due diligence, but don't make them jump through hoops. And that's really important to let people's equity transfer from one place to another. And I always did that as a pastor. I let people who would come to me. I remember Pastor Jack Hafer called me and said, "You just inherited some of my best people." And he goes, "You better treat them well." And I had 4 of his people from Church on the Way, and they felt to be called, they were called more to Hollywood and to the prophetic. And so they came to our church. I said, "Pastor Jack, I'll always do them good. And I'll honor you in this." And it was beautiful that he sent them. And he said, I can't keep them because they know they have a calling, and they'll always be part of our lives and our hearts. But it was time for them to go in a beautiful way, to go what we activated them, what we discipled them for, to you. And I think that's an important mentality to have as a pastor, from one pastor to another, from one leader to another. It's really important. So I know there's not a lot of pastors on here, but I wanted to just say that for those of you who are pastors, don't be afraid when people leave you, especially if it's a good reason why they're leaving you. God will send you somebody. He'll send you friendships that normally take 5 years, and they'll happen in a second. And there's a lot of pivoting, and God's setting up this world like a global chessboard, and he has put the enemy in checkmate already, but he's doing it in visible ways by moving people in the right sphere, in the right city, in the right neighborhood, in the right church, in the right career. And we're going to see more and more of that shift for the next 9 or 10 months. There's going to be so many shifts. People you thought would never move away are going to move away. People you thought who would never move to you, like children who are like, I'm never moving back home, or I'm never moving back to that state or that city or that country, are going to move back. We're going to see people who would never move to another country, move to another country. We're going to watch a radical shift. So I just want to encourage you. Well, I wanted to play this clip from Will Ford. Now stay with us. We have a lot more to do. I want to play this clip from Will Ford. And